Picture someone with great self-discipline. Maybe they wake up at 5 a.m. every day and go straight to the gym. Maybe they never touch their phone during dinner or any conversation with a loved one. Maybe they've had a cookie jar on their counter for 6 months and have never opened it even once. We admire a person like that, right? We think, if only I had that kind of willpower. But here's what the science actually says, and it might surprise you. If willpower is your main strategy for reaching your goals, you're almost certainly going to fail. The truth is that a person's willpower isn't what makes them successful. I'm Nadav Klein. I'm a professor of organizational behavior, and I study how people make decisions and change their own behavior. Today, I want to walk you through one of the most important and most misunderstood ideas in behavioral science. The reason why some people are far more successful at following through on their goals than others. So let's start with something most of us take as gospel. Self-control equals willpower. When you're trying to eat healthier and you resist the donuts at the office meeting, that's your willpower doing the work. When you sit down to work on something important and manage to stay off your phone for an hour, that's your willpower. When you're tired and you still drag yourself to the gym, that's your willpower. And we treat it like a virtue. We celebrate it. We follow influencers who perform it. We berate ourselves when we don't have enough of that. Here's the problem. Willpower is a finite resource. This is one of the most replicated findings in psychology. Your capacity to inhibit impulses, to override the voice in your head that says, maybe just one more episode, or I'll start tomorrow. That capacity depletes over time. The more you use it, the less you have it, and you need to recover. Think about it this way. If you put a cookie jar on your kitchen table, how many times can you walk past it in the morning and not take one? Can you do it 10 times? Maybe. 20? Perhaps. 50? Maybe if you're really remarkable. But there will always be a 51st time. And when your defenses are down, when you're tired or stressed, or just had a terrible meeting, that's when the jar wins. That's just how it works. That's not a character flaw. That's just biology. Once the jar wins for the first time, it's much easier for you to develop a bad habit of eating cookies over and over again. So here's where it gets interesting. Researchers have run studies tracking people with genuinely high self-control. These are the people who consistently hit their goals, eat well, save money, stay focused on work, etc., etc. Now, the intuitive prediction would be that these people are far better than average at resisting temptation and having really good willpower, because we think that they fight the urge and win more often. But that's not actually what was found. In fact, people with strong self-control do not have stronger willpower than average. But what they do have is being less likely to be in situations that requires them to resist anything at all. So let's say that again. The people who are best at self-control were using it the least. They were not better fighters. They did not have better willpower. They simply designed their lives better so that there was almost nothing for them to fight. They simply didn't have the cookie jar on the counter to resist. They didn't subscribe to marketing emails. They didn't keep their phone on their desks when they were trying to work. The game that they were playing was completely different from the game that we assumed that they were playing. So what does this mean practically? The key insight is this. The goal is not to be better at resisting temptation, because ultimately that's a losing game. The goal instead is to engineer your environment so that the temptation doesn't appear in the first place. Now, it sounds almost too simple, but notice how much it changes your mental model of what it means to try harder. Most of us, when we fail at a goal, we tell ourselves some version of, I need more discipline, I need to want it more, I need to be stronger. But the evidence says that the real question is, what is it in my environment that's making it so hard for me to work on my goal? So for example, do you want to eat better? Just don't put the food that you're trying to avoid in your house. Don't put it in the back of the cupboard. Just put it outside of the house. Don't have it in the first place. You want to stop doom scrolling? Don't rely on yourself to put the phone down at bedtime. Just put the charger in another room before you even get tired. You want to exercise consistently? Don't rely on your motivation to strike every morning. Instead, maybe sleep in your gym clothes if you have to, and sign up for a gym that's very close to your house, or sign up for an exercise class that has a cancellation fee. Now, a very powerful way to change your environment is to rely on other people, is to delegate. That's one of the most powerful ways to take willpower entirely out of the equation. For example, if you want to go to the gym every morning, you should get a friend who's counting on you to show up. That would mean that you're no longer relying on how you feel at 6 a.m. That social accountability would do the work that willpower can't sustain. Another tool to remove willpower from the equation is try to automate decisions. For example, if you want to stick to a budget, the most effective thing isn't to tell yourself to resist impulse purchases, but rather is to automate your savings and investments so the money is gone before you can decide to spend it. What you're doing here is you outsourcing the burden of constantly having to decide to stick to your goals, which means that you will make decisions that pursue your goals more often. So there's something I want to say about why this matters beyond just the practical tips. We live in a culture that worships effortful self-improvement. The harder something is, the more credit we give the person who does it. So we admire the person who resists the cookie jar. We feel almost nothing for the person who just got rid of the cookies altogether. But notice who's actually more likely to be successful in the long term. The science is pretty clear on this. The person who sets up the environment to avoid temptations and pursue their goals is going to win. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're cheating. But rather it's because they understand something important about their own nature, that their own willpower, no matter how well-intentioned, is limited. Willpower is just a backup system. It's a very useful one, even a noble one sometimes, but it was never meant to be your primary strategy. The best version of self-control is a life where you almost never have to exercise it. So if you're struggling with a goal right now, whether it's health, focus, work, relationships, whatever it is, before you tell yourself that you need more discipline, you can ask a different question. What is it in my environment that makes this so hard? I really want to achieve this. Why is it so hard? And then ask yourself, what is one thing I could do to change my environment today so that the right choices become the easy choices? That's the key shift. No more willpower, just better design. Now, if this way of thinking about behavior interests you, this channel is where I take the research I do as a scientist and turn it into tools that you can actually use. So subscribe if you want more of that, and I'll see you in the next one.